Long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to Out Up My League. I'm Nick Diaz. So a lot of narratives that are drawn out in the media are sometimes valid narratives, and sometimes they're not. Now, I learned in journalism school why that is. It's a difficult job, and sometimes athletes and coaches can make it more difficult. So when I hear a media member say, well, this is a bad look, or this is not the right thing you want to do, ask yourself why they're saying that. LSU quarterbacks not showing up to media days at the last minute. Max and Miles were pulled from the Manning Passing Academy this weekend at the last minute. The media gets upset about this. I get it. All right? All the people in the media from Baton Rouge and New Orleans drove all the way to Thibodaux to see LSU's quarterbacks, and then they don't show up. So when people say, look, I'm just trying to do my job, okay? This is a bad look. I get that. But guess what? Coach O's just trying to do his as well. All right? I've loved the way Coach O has been handling this quarterback competition since last season. Who's going to back up Miles? Well, it's going to be 50-50. We don't know yet. They're both going to get equal reps. Well, who's going to start the South Carolina game? We don't know. 50-50. We'll decide probably at the end of the week. Well, who's going to be the starter in spring? Oh, everyone's going to get exactly, equal reps. If Coach O at the last minute says this brings too much attention to our quarterbacks, well, he has the right to do that. All right? And he should do that. The job of the coach is to protect the players. This can make the media's job. It makes their job difficult, all right? Hell, it makes my job difficult, okay? It would be a lot easier as a producer of a radio show or a podcast to have some sound bites from LSU quarterbacks. But guess what? No one gives a shit how much harder it makes my job. And neither should football coaches. So who do I think is going to be the starter? I don't know. Look, I've heard former LSU players. I've heard former SEC players who cover LSU football, particularly at SEC media days, say, I'm kind of leaning towards Team Miles Brennan because he's been there the longest. He's got the respect of the team, so on and so forth. He understands defenses better. Well, fine. A totally solid argument. But I can tell you who I think should be, and that's Max Johnson. And it's not because I think Miles is not good enough. Miles is good enough to be a championship quarterback. I think Miles Brennan is good enough to get drafted and be in the NFL for a long time. Maybe not as a starter, but in the NFL for years to come. But I'm Team Max Johnson because of what I said back in the spring. Who is LSU's backup left and right tackle on the offensive line? Who is LSU's backup center? Do we know that? Now, we know who the depth on the guard position, but we don't know 2 or 3 of the most important positions on the offensive line, center and tackle. Center and tackle. Linemen get hurt the most during the season. It's the largest amount of attrition that happens during the season. And if just one of those 3 positions, right or left tackle or center, goes down, well, who's going to escape from the pressure? Max Johnson can. Miles Brennan can't. That's the limitation that's hurting him. Speaking of linemen getting injured, the Saints defensive tackle David Onyemata is out 6 games. Not because he's injured, but because suspension. Why? The weed! He's a second offender. And it was a 6-game suspension because the NFL wanted to make an example out of him with their stupid rules. Fine. Okay. But I'm not going to argue about the rules. We all know how we all feel about those. The best coaches adapt their system to the players, not their players to the system, right? Well, the Saints defense, they have too many holes in it now. This is not just one position at corner. This is now an issue at a position that had some depth concerns going into the season, now has even more. So the way Sean Payton may have to adapt is run the ball, play action pass. The good news is that the Saints were going to run the ball a lot this year anyway and have been for the past several years. That's a strength, so kind of falls into play. But you may see less traditional Sean Payton West Coast style of offense than maybe you ever have before, not just because Jameis Winston, he's new to the system, even though he's been here for a year, but also because of what's on the other side. You may see more ground and pound play action stuff like you see with the Rams or the 49ers. Keep the defense off the field. Saints offense will look different. Not too different, but a little different. The good news with Jameis Winston being the quarterback is that he can do exactly what Drew Brees could not do the last 2 seasons, which was stretch the field vertically. The only real question mark on the Saints offense, I mean, if you want to call Jameis Winston a question mark, but we know he can play in this league and score in this league. But the biggest question mark on the Saints offense is who's the second or third wide receiver besides Michael Thomas. A play-action, run-first offense helps take the pressure off of those second and third wide receivers. They're obviously going to double-team Michael Thomas, but then you add the fact they're playing the run more. So it takes even more pressure off of that second and third wide receiver. But the first 6 games for the Saints will be defined by one word: survive. Survive on the other side of the ball on defense and play offense in a way that helps them. So LSU baseball got some more and more transfers, and I'll talk about them in a little bit. But it's amazing how losing a guy on your roster can go from a negative perspective to a positive perspective. So I've said that LSU baseball's roster is built to win in Omaha in every possible way except one: pitching. They don't have enough starting pitching. You have a lot of promising relief guys, especially coming in through the transfer portal, but nobody can really answer the question, who are your 3 weekend starters? All right, you got Hilliard and this guy Reiselman, who looks like he might be your best pitcher next year, at least starting pitcher. But after that, you can't really answer that question now, can you? You have potential, but you can't definitively answer it. So the thing that really shocked me and was kind of a buzzkill this past weekend on Friday, A.J. Labas, LSU's Sunday starting pitcher the past 2 years, signed as an undrafted free agent with the Minnesota Twins. This left me confused because I kept on saying, well, why the hell would he leave when there's a huge question mark on starting pitching next season and he went undrafted? And then it hit me today. Jay Johnson is trying to find room on his roster, and some guys are going to have to leave. Well, yeah, no shit. We knew this. But what is Jay Johnson's priority? So what if he was going to clear up room on a roster to fix something else, to bring guys in, what would it be? Hitting, offense, your batting lineup. Jay Johnson refuses to have any holes in his batting lineup whatsoever. Well, what's the hole in the biggest holes on LSU's lineup this past season? Milazzo in the DH spot, unexcusable. Well, who did he bring in? Jacob Berry. He'll be a DH or a third baseman. McManus, he's a catcher, but possible DH because he can't really field. Well, they also got their starting catcher in Priester, the live out guy, 5-tool player. He can throw like Milazzo, field like Milazzo, and hit like McManus. All right, he's your starting catcher for next season. So you got all your options in the infield. You got the Merrifield guy out of LSU Defensive Player of the Year in junior college. So there's an option for you as well if you want to keep Jacob Berry at DH and not move Doty back to second. You have options, a good problem to have. And many of these guys to enter the transfer portal or leave to go to the pros, the biggest surprise was A.J. Labas, which tells me one thing about Jay Johnson. He trusts Jason Kelly. Of all the people he could tell to leave, Jay Johnson, who needed to solve some holes in his pitching staff, told a Sunday SEC starter, Labas, to walk. Because think about it. What kind of pitchers is Jay Johnson getting in the transfer portal besides Reiselman, who'll be a starter? What kind of transfers is he getting? Relief pitchers, left-handed relief pitchers. Telling me Jay Johnson evaluated the talent of Coleman, Helmers, Garrett Edwards, Fontenot, and others and said, Jason Kelly, who's worked magic everywhere he's been, can make them a Sunday starter in the SEC. Maybe even multiple Sunday starters. Labas walking made everyone go, well, what the hell? Why would you let Labas walk? To, oh wait, what the hell? He now has more options to fix the offense. He now has more options to fix the infield. He saved room in roster spots. And he trusts the young guys coming back on LSU's pitching staff, and he trusts Jason Kelly, the pitching coach. That one move of A.J. Labas leaving changes the entire perspective of what LSU can do next season. And that was all determined by the pitching. Thanks for listening to Out of My League. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow me on Twitter and Facebook in the description link below.